Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the album review show with me, Mark.
And me, Paul.
This is the show where we delve into an album of our choice and we pick out what we like about it, what we hate about it, and everything in between.
Yeah, this week we're going to go through Taylor Swift's new record, Evermore. So we're just getting into it straight away. Mark, how did you take to this album, just generally?
Yeah, first listen was a struggle, I think. I'm not really used to sad albums. I don't really listen to them by choice, and I don't listen to much Taylor Swift, to be honest. I haven't listened to the predecessor to this, Folklore, which was the sister album, I think, to this as well, isn't it? So, and it's quite a long album as well. It's about an hour, 15 tracks, and there's even been 2 more added on now with a deluxe version. So It is a long album, but a few listens in, and I was hooked, to be honest. It's a great album and yeah, really enjoyed getting into it. What about you?
Yeah, ever since Taylor Swift did Shake It Off, I've been a bit of a closet fan, and I really enjoyed as you say, the sister album, and this one, as you say, it's long. It is a bit of a slog, but there's a lot of meat to get into, and there's a lot of storytelling that you can really, once you get into that mindset of listening out for the stories and the through lines and the themes, I think it's a really enjoyable album to listen to. It's nice to have on in the background. Like I found myself just listening to it while I was driving. It's nice to just have some nice melodies and acoustic instruments and stuff going on in the background, you know. And don't be wrong, like she's just an incredible singer. What it comes down to is like her voice just sounds really good. So, you know, you can listen to it on repeat and not get bored of that voice. But I think some of the songs I could live without, but overall it's a good album. But as you say, it's probably a bit too long.
Yeah, so we'll dive a bit deeper into it in a second. But first of all, what's your track of the week this week?
Yeah, my track of the week this week got released as we're recording this. It got released about an hour ago. It's by an artist called Dodie. It's off an upcoming album that's getting released in March the 5th, and this song's called Hate Myself. It's, if you've followed Dodie over the past couple of years, it's kind of everything you'd come to expect from it. Really, really nice melody, nice and dry production, if you know what I mean. It's got that really tight, dry, it feels like you're being sung to, if that makes sense, and just really, really great song. Yeah, I've had it on repeat for the past hour since it's been released. What's yours?
Mine also came out today, but it was this morning. So it's Lana Del Rey's new track, Chemtrails Over the Country Club, which is also the title of her upcoming album, which is going to be released in the next couple of months. And it's quite a classic Lana Del Rey sound, that hypnotic, enchanting type vocal that she's got, and runs through all her songs, really, I think. And it's quite stripped back instrumentation wise. There's not much going on, but just enough to keep it going. And it sort of has a slow build up to when the drums kick in at the end. It's quite like a sloppy beat that comes in. It's quite weird.
Oh, right.
It's quite really dry, not much production on the drums, and then it ends quite weirdly, but I quite liked it. It's sort of, the music stopped and the vocals stopped, and then it was literally just the drums on their own.
Nice.
For about another 8 bars or something. It's still playing along to the music, but with no music, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's a nice thing that's happening at the moment where people are really starting to play with like the pop structure and the form of a song, if you know what I mean. And I think this year, the songs that we get given through Lana Del Rey, through Drake, people like that, I think form in pop music is going to change drastically. We discussed it at length in some of the songs when we did the Miley Cyrus episode, and how she was playing with form a little bit, and that pop structure kind of thrown out the window. And yeah, I haven't listened to that Lana Del Rey song, but I will be tomorrow, and I'm excited to hear like a bit of another take on that structure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the album being released as well. Should be an interesting one, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an exciting year for music. Just in the way things are going to get released and publicised, I think. So yeah, I'm excited for some new music.
Taylor Swift then. So this is her 9th studio album, and it was only released 5 months after Folklore, which was a previous record, and it was sort of an extension of that record. I've heard they just continued writing because they had more to tell and they had more ideas he wanted to try out. So it's a collaboration really between her and producer Aaron Dessner, and I think there's a couple of others in there as well, but mainly it was Dessner who she collaborated with on this. And it's got quite a sort of indie folk sound, hasn't it? Similar to Folklore.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's kind of got just a really nice. It sounds like she's gone back to her roots a little bit and just like telling stories through music. Throwing out like the pop music structures and them. I think what I'm trying to say is it goes back to the fact that she can record her own music now, and she's. This whole thing that with that's gone on over the past has been a very public battle with her record company and who owns the rights and everything to her song, and her re-recording their own back catalogue just so that she owns them recordings. And I think is it Scooter Braun that his company bought her back catalogue, and I think what these two records have really summed up is I can do what I want. This is what I want to do right now. And I'm going to do it loads. Yeah,
I think I've heard in an interview recently as well with Zane Lowe that she said, talking about her sort of past albums, that, it's this endless sort of coordinated job with her music videos, her live shows, photo shoots, all sort of tied together under this aesthetic umbrella. And I guess with no live shows this year, she's took a completely different stance on how the writing process has been, and writing this album, as you say, storytelling, and really getting into the imagery of an album as well.
Yeah, I think the environment that she's written these two albums matters a lot. It tells a lot of the story. She's made her own space where she feels comfortable. Quite obviously, it's on her property, isn't it? It looks as though the album sounds, if that makes sense. It's like a really... I don't know if you've seen photos of it, but it's kind of hidden away in this.
It's like this forest imagery.
Wooded, foresty kind of area, and everything feels really organic when you see a photo or a video of it. And it's kind of life imitating art, imitating life a little bit with her at the moment, where like she feels really comfortable in this space, and this is the kind of music that I'm making. But maybe she's just listening to that kind of music at the same time. And sometimes there's just like a happy accident of all of them things coming together in a perfect storm, isn't there? And she just seems at that age as well, where you really find out who you are and all that kind of stuff. And she's been through a lot. I mean, she's been through, you name it, she's been through it over the past decade or whatever, hasn't she? Yeah. And everyone knows about it, So I think these two albums and this one maybe a little bit more. She's really honest in a lot of the things that she's talking about, and she's also said in some of the interviews that she's done that some of the songs hadn't even happened to her, and this is the first time she's been able to explore story through music that hasn't directly happened to her, which I think is really interesting. I really like it when artists can do that. Me and you really big fans of Blossoms, aren't we? And they're able to take a story from something else that's never happened to them and turn it into a song that sounds like it did happen to them. And it's a really brilliant thing that artists can do sometimes. You just capture that emotion and then everyone can feel something from it. And I really like what she's done here with that kind of thing,
Yeah, I think a big example of that is probably Champagne Problems, which is a breakup song, a really harsh breakup song, and she wrote it with her current boyfriend, apparently, and they're very much together and very much in love, but they managed to write this fictitious breakup song, which really hit hard.
Yeah, I did see something that she said that we just really like writing sad songs together. I mean, if it works, doesn't it? Because... I mean, it quite obviously has worked. I really like that song. I think it's quite a clever song musically. Although when we have said she's taken stories that may not have happened to her, she's obviously drawing on her life experience and everything with the lyrics and putting herself in using empathy and sympathy, obviously in them roles. And I think when she's said she would have made such a lovely bride. What a shame she's fucked in the head. I found that quite funny. I think sometimes she plays with the media a little bit with what she says in songs, and I thought that one kind of stuck out to me a little bit with how she she's like making a little bit of a jibe with the media, maybe, you know.
Yeah, I thought that as well. And there's quite a lot of fictitious and non-fictitious, I guess, themes running throughout the album, isn't there? You know, infidelity, grief, and it's sort of impressionist storytelling involved as well.
Yeah, and I got like a real tension. I don't know whether it was lyrically or musically. I just found like tension was a real theme that I picked up on through the album. Escapism, maybe. Of like, maybe that was not quite directly from the lyrics, but the fact that she was using these stories to escape maybe from real life and what she was going through, or what she wasn't going through, what we all haven't been going through during the last 12 months, and escape into a place where things did happen, maybe, you know. And obviously I thought the theme of control was quite heavy through this record, which again goes back to the reference to her battle with Scooter Braun and her music and her control. It seems like she wants to control a lot of things in her life, and maybe that's a backlash to her not having as much control, possibly, from what I was reading and listening to. Maybe there is that thing of, I need control a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I think she said regarding control that in terms of the way that she released the album, she's got this sort of new outlook in terms of, if it's ready, just release it. And I think that, she had this battle in her head. I'll wait till January, February till everything's back to normal. Then she was like, that's just that sort of control inside me, wanting to control the date when it's released and all that. And it's maybe a bit of a different take on control. Maybe
one thing this year has taught everyone is that you can't control things. Yeah. Maybe that's kind of one of the big lessons from this record, that she personally has learned, and that maybe she's put into that, in that you can't control things. You can only control two things, and that's your actions and how you feel about them. You've just got to accept it as it is, and I really like that. I think a lot of the music industry is kind of going that way now, where people are releasing things just as and when, and if it turns into a record, like a full record, then that's brilliant. But if it's just ready as a single, then just put it out, because you can. It doesn't really cost as much money anymore for a single and things like that. Maybe an EP, an artist can just record it and put it online straight away. There's no real overheads to the release of the music, and that's a really nice thing, like a breath of fresh air a little bit in the music industry, isn't it, going forward?
Yeah, definitely. And she also said that they made a conscious effort not to make everything perfect this time. She wanted them imperfections in the record, and not to overthink everything. And I think they also recorded it remotely, so they weren't ever in the same room together.
Yeah, I think as well, when people say that statement of like, oh, we wanted to leave the imperfections in, and yeah, I get it, but there's also there's only so many imperfections that there can be when you're recording your vocals through a vocal chain that could cost upwards of £5,000 maybe. Yeah. Do you know, like, she's in a position where it's not imperfections, it's quirks, isn't it? I think like when people say, oh, we left the imperfections in, it's like, they're not really imperfections. If you recorded it with this microphone, then maybe this is a £90 microphone or whatever, it might not sound how you want it to sound. But when you've got what she's got, like, it's easy now, isn't it, for a person in her position to be able to record an album remotely, even if it is remotely, but record an album to a really high quality and then just put it out in a way that she's never done before, or people haven't really done before. But it's in a way where technology has allowed us, and her position has allowed her to be able to have the equipment to be able to do that, which is a great thing. Don't get me wrong, it's a great thing. But when they say, we left the imperfections in, it's like, they're not really imperfections, are they?
So yeah, it reached number one in everywhere, as you'd expect from Taylor Swift.
Yeah, one thing I did see was that her and Paul McCartney were texting back and forth, because obviously he released his record the week later, didn't he?
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of an unknown whether she was going to release it when she did or a little bit before when she did, and Paul McCartney was kind of saying, when are you putting yours out, because I didn't want to put mine out on the day that you put yours out, because we're going to be battling then, and I think we could both get a number one out of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, it's amazing that Paul McCartney would text you and say them things, but also I think it shows where both artists are in the world. I think Paul McCartney's kind of like, he just knows how to play the game big time, doesn't he? And Taylor Swift is in a position where everyone, including Paul McCartney, knows that they can't battle for number one. That's that's an amazing position to be in. Imagine Paul McCartney ringing you and telling you that he doesn't want to go head to head with you because he doesn't think he'd be able to get number one. That's insane, but it's brilliant. Obviously, that's the position that she's in. That's where she is. You know, she is a global superstar and will be and has been for a very long time. You know, and she's put some real work in, hasn't she, to get to that point?
Yeah, it's made her the first woman in US history to amass 8 consecutive number one debuts on the chart. So
wow, that is some doing, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly is. And sort of similar to the Miley Cyrus album, there's a few interesting collaborations on the record as well, isn't there? We've got Haim, Bon Iver, The National, Marcus Mumford.
I mean, obviously the first one to talk about is No Body, No Crime. It's probably my favourite part of the record. It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely my favourite song on the album. Yeah, I guess what I was saying before about not always liking sad songs, this is the one for me which has got the most groove on the album and stood out to me as the best sort of pop song, I think, on the album.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's got like a different feel to it, hasn't it, in the groove compared to a lot of the other songs. I love that it bleeds seamlessly from the other tunes, though. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not. It doesn't sound out of place.
No,
but it just adds like another level to the record, and like it's like a Netflix documentary, isn't it?
Yeah, a story of a double murder, I think, isn't it? And of all these different perspectives, and it's really interesting story.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And the backing vocals and everything from the Haim girls, they just add that little bit of spice on top of what is already a brilliant song. And the story is just the thing that really like cuts through the whole thing, I think. And you can't help but just getting engrossed in like, well, what's happening next? I really enjoyed that one. As I say, it's probably it's one of a few high points on the record for me.
Yeah, and the vocals sort of add that cinematic quality to it, I think, as well.
It's almost like musical theatre in the way that she's delivered it, isn't it? It's the delivery and the vocal has changed a little bit in that song, and it's really nice to listen to. Yeah,
I think it harks to her country days as well. It's probably the most country song she's had out in a while, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It's right in her wheelhouse for that kind of thing, isn't it? Is there like a banjo kind of picky kind of thing, and it's got that like nice slow country feel to it, and just everything about it. You can't. I'd be struggled to find someone that didn't like that song because it's just, I feel like there's something for everyone in it, you know.
Yeah. I think the middle eight's brilliant as well. It just ties the whole thing together.
It's where all that tension and drama for the whole thing, musically and lyrically, isn't it?
Yeah. Good thing his mistress took out a big life insurance policy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brilliant. Is there any other like really high points for you on the record, or was that it?
No, there's quite a few. Yeah, I really like Champagne Problems, which is unusual for me because, as I say, I don't really like sad songs, and this is the saddest song on the album, I think, or one off. But I just like the way that she's been able to write this heartbreak song with her current boyfriend. I think that's really interesting, and some great lyrics, as you said before.
She would have made such a lovely bride. What a shame she's fucked in the head. Yeah, it's I love there's like a lovely synth arpeggio sound going through the song, and in the second chorus there's a harmony, and it like makes sense after the low vocal in the first chorus, and everything builds really nicely, I think, in that song.
It's got really vivid imagery from the storytelling as well. Delves into that female protagonist's mental health struggles as well. Yeah,
which is obviously a really hot topic at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. So what about you? Did you have any particular highlights?
For some reason I really like 'Tis the Damn Season. I really like the atmosphere of that song and the space that she the musical space that she's created. The chorus is just like a classic Taylor Swift like pop melody. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I feel like I show everyone this record, this video, but there's a video of her playing a stripped back version of Wildest Dreams. I think it's at the Grammys, but it's just her and a guitar.
Yeah, I think I've seen that, yeah.
It's so good, and that performance is one of my favourite performances, like, of any singer, like, ever, really.
Yeah.
But this song just gave me that kind of, like, vibe of whatever she had in that performance. It feels like she's maybe dipped into that feeling for this song, and I don't know why, it just really resonated with me. As I say, I just really like the atmosphere that she's created. I think the ending track, Evermore, with Bon Iver, is just absolutely fantastic. I think there's a really good thing that she does with this record, and she plays with the pace of a song really, really well. So, like in Champagne Problems, there's a period where, I think it's in the second verse, that they put like a delay on the percussion, and it just makes the song go a bit quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it changes the pace of what's happening really, really subtly, but in a way that you can't, like, it really, like, it makes you kind of sit up and go, ooh. There's an energy that's changed there, and I think obviously in Evermore, when Justin Vernon comes in, the pace of the whole song is just such a contrast to what's just happened, and like his voice is such a contrast to her voice. The whole thing, I just love that like clash and like opposition in the whole song of her voice starting it with this really slow bed almost of sound, and then his bit comes in and his vocals like really high and thin, then the music changes and the whole pace changes of the song, and it's not just even like tempo, it's like pace, it's the tension of what you're listening to is completely changed, and then obviously it comes back into just singing with her, and then it's both of them, and I just really, really like the way they've played with pace in the record, you know. I think it's something that we haven't really seen from her maybe in the past. Just really like delving into them really tiny subtleties, if you know what I mean, in the musicality of the song. And it's really nice to listen to. Yeah,
as you say, the songs sort of take the time to breathe and build up, and the tempo shifts within the songs and also between songs. Yeah, the production's great, isn't it? Overall, like the songs go to quite unexpected places sometimes.
Yeah, one thing for that was Tolerate It. I don't know why, but it was. Have you ever listened to a song and you don't know where the one is?
Yeah.
Don't know where like that first beat of the bar is.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but this was one of them, and it was really interesting. The first time I listened to it, I was like, "What? I don't know where the one is." But for like,
there is one in 5/4, I think, or something, isn't there? I don't know.
I don't know if it's in 5/4. I don't know, but maybe it is. I listened to it, I was like, "What? I don't know where the one is." But for like well too long. Do you know what I mean? Not too long, but like for a while I was listening to it, which isn't. It made me really sit up and like concentrate on the song and what was happening, and then I realised that it was this like syncopated offbeat rhythm in I think it's a keyboard that's happening, you know, and then the chorus hits and you go, oh right, okay, I get where that first beat of the bar is now, you know. And I just really liked it, and I think the story in Tolerate It, I found just as a story on its own, was really, really like a nice story. Not nice obviously, because it's about someone dealing with like an unrequited love in their marriage or whatever, but it was just a good story to really get your teeth into, and the characters, I really believed in like both of the characters, and then I was really thinking about it, and I thought maybe it's a little bit of a metaphor for a relationship with the music industry. You know, she felt like she was just a little like tolerated for a long time. She wasn't taken seriously as an artist and this kind of thing. She wasn't truly loved for what she was doing. And I think that's like a really good song to really get your teeth into. There's a lyric. I greet you with a battle hero's welcome. I take all your indiscretions, all in good fun. You know, and then there's another one. I use my best colours for your portrait. I loved that imagery of pouring some love into that, like portrait, and then just like tossing it aside, you know?
Yeah, I made you my temple, my mural, my sky. Now I'm begging for footnote to the story of your life.
Yeah, just it's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's truly heartbreaking to listen to. And that one, as I say, just the production on its own, them swells and like glitchy hi-hat that's happening throughout. It really, this is one of the ones where the tension for me was, that theme of tension running through the album was really prominent. It's a really tense song. You feel like something's going to happen. It could almost turn into a story like Nobody, No Crime.
Yeah.
You know, but as I say, that was the production on that one I really, really enjoyed. And is it Happiness? Felt like a hymn. That organ at the start was just really, really nice. Like wholesome. A lot of the sounds on it, on the album, were really wholesome and just really nice to listen to. Really, nothing's harsh, is it? Everything's been thought through, and everything just feels like a bit of a warm hug.
Yeah, apparently she wrote that song only a week before the album was released. So I suppose that's another advantage of like this new working remotely, especially artists with their own studios, and like Miley Cyrus, who they can just throw out a song at home and digitally upload it to Spotify, and it's part of the album.
Yeah, I think this one was probably the one that really transcends that pop structure, as we were talking about before. It does kind of like, there's a lot of different elements to it. Maybe it's sometimes it feels like it's dragging a little bit, but it's interesting because it's not using that like intro, verse, chorus, verse, cut.
Yeah, I think it's like a deliberate
Robotronic, like, which, as you say, it is a deliberate thing that they've done, and it's really refreshing to listen to. I really liked it. Coney Island was another real highlight for me. I really enjoyed that one, and obviously the vocal from the National, when that comes in, and it's like, it's so smooth, isn't it? It's like it's like a friend you've always known, just like giving you a phone call or something. When he comes in with a really deep voice that contrasts Taylor's voice, and the whole story of that and the imagery and throughout the whole song. Obviously, I've never been to Coney Island, but you feel like you've been there when you've listened to this song. Yeah,
definitely. And I think Aaron Dresner, who produced most of the album, is in the National as well, isn't he? So this is his bandmate, obviously the singer Matt Berninger, who features on this, and it's got quite a nostalgic feel to it.
As I say, it's just a really really great song to listen to.
For me, that probably doesn't really reach the heights that I was hoping it would, but the vocals together really do work well on it.
I think Gold Rush is probably the most produced song on the record, isn't it? Whereas that's like it has the most stuff in it. It almost seems like that's the single of the record, almost, you know. But it's nice that the rest, as you mentioned before, the rest of the songs are allowed to breathe, not just in like structure and stuff like that, but in the production. I feel like a lot of it is just really, really minimal, and that possibly could be because of a skill set, as you said before about them recording it remotely. That could be because of a skill set of not having the skill set to record a lot of different things, or it could have been a choice, which I do think it is a choice, but it's a good choice because the record does breathe quite a lot throughout it, and it's a long breath because it is a long album.
It is. I really enjoyed Dorothea as well. I thought it's sort of like a part 2 to Just the Damn Season, isn't it? But from the male perspective. Yeah,
the chorus in Dorothea is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just a bit more of a up-tempo one as well, isn't it? Like Nobody, No Crime.
Yeah, the chorus will really stick with you. Is it Marjorie that's about her grandmother?
Yeah, I was just about to come on to that one. Yeah, I think that's one of my favourites on the album as well. As you say, it's about her grandma who died when she was younger, and I think it's sort of about wishing that she'd been able to enjoy more of her life and get to know her more as a person.
Which everyone has had that feeling. It's such a universal feeling, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Coming at it from such an honest angle. Everyone's been there, and when you speak about them kind of things in a frank way, people really resonate with them, don't they?
Yeah.
You're not using rubbish metaphors and annoying things like that everyone's heard a million times before in a Hallmark card. You're talking frankly and honestly about a subject that everyone goes through.
Yeah, I think everyone has that sort of regret, don't they, of like, did I appreciate them enough when they were here?
Yeah, so much. And obviously this year we've all realised how much we didn't appreciate a lot of things.
Yeah.
That may not come back, or at least for a long time. So it's a really universal feeling, that one. And I did see something else. They've sampled her grandmother.
Yeah, I heard that as well. Yeah, I think she was an opera singer, wasn't she? And she found some tapes and sent them to the producer, and he's placed them in the song, sort of singing with her.
Yeah, it's a really brilliant thing that they can have a duet.
Yeah,
in a way, and obviously when we get back to playing these songs live, she can sing with her grandmother every night, and that's like a really touching thing, isn't it? That you're able to do nowadays. So one thing I was thinking was, did you have any preconceptions before you listened to this record? Were you going into it thinking, oh, this is going to be such and such, or this, and did any of them change while you were listening to it, good or bad?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I was alluding to before that I thought I'd hate it, to be honest, because I'm not a massive fan of these type of sad song albums. I don't really give slow music much of a chance. I'm more of a groove guy, and I like a quick tempo and a fast beat and a nice pop song. But it's actually made me reconsider that altogether. Maybe I should listen to more of this type of stuff, because I really enjoyed it. First listen, as I say, was quite difficult. It's a long album and a lot of sad songs, a lot of slow songs. But then I guess similar to the year that we've just had, learning to be more patient with things and appreciating them for what they are. I did it with this, really, and completely overturned my preconception of it, and I really do like the album now, and I really appreciate the storytelling and allowing a song to breathe and different production techniques, and I thought it was great. What about you? Did you have any preconceptions?
Yeah, I was a little bit along the same line, to be honest. Obviously, I'd listened to Folklore, and I kind of knew what was happening there a little bit, and I could expect a little. Like, I thought I'd heard it was kind of more of the same, if you know what I mean. And it was like a sister album, which is great, because they're both really good albums. I think, for me, the like this pair of albums has opened my eyes to like a songwriting talent. Maybe an album should stop at 10 or 11 songs.
Yeah.
Purely because I feel like a lot of content that gets released nowadays has shrunk. You know what I mean? Like, things that are digested are smaller now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, videos, and even down to like YouTube, they cut things into 8 minutes or 7 minutes, and that seems like that's getting smaller every time. And I just feel like if you make a choice of putting 17 songs on a record, and like some of them aren't like short songs. They're not like 3-minute 33 pop songs. Some of them are quite lengthy songs on a lengthy album. I just think sometimes I did find myself kind of, right, I'll come back to this point in the album tomorrow, and I just kind of got a little bit, not bored of the album, but bored of listening to a long album.
Yeah, it's hard to sit there and actually listen to the whole thing, isn't it? It's too long for listening to it on a run. It's too long for like listening to it on a car journey. So it's as you say, it's finding the time to digest the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, I have found myself putting it on when I'm driving, and I'm quite happy again when I get in the car the next day, for example, and a song will come on the Bluetooth, just and it'll just come on, and I think, oh, Ace, yeah. As I say, it's kind of a nice, it's really nice background album. I don't think anything's going to win many awards on this record. I don't think it's going to be like one that people really hold in high esteem. It's not breaking down any barriers, is it? But it's just giving people what they want, and that's a good thing. But it's a lot of what people want.
Yeah. I suppose I've come to appreciate like how much she loves music as well. I think a lot of it, her songwriting skills and stuff like that, were masked by that pop pop song production and formula that she'd had going with all the other albums. And like she said, she's always thinking about the show, like the live show and the set and everything, and the photo shoots while she's writing an album. So like, I think this is she said she sort of really had the time to forget about all that stuff and think about just purely the music and telling a story, and I think that really shines through.
Yeah, it does come across massively. As I say, the high points on this album are kind of like everyone will have the same high points.
Yeah,
I guess, you know, that if you really listen to every song really intently, which we have done over the past month or so, you will find things in every song where you think, wow, that's really, really good. But I think if you were just, if say, for example, you're a really big Taylor Swift fan, I feel like you're still going to skip a lot of this album, maybe. And you're just kind of going to get to the singles, maybe the high points that you might listen to 50% of it. But, I mean, that's fine, you know, because there's two of them.
Yeah.
And I think just going forward, Taylor Swift's career now is kind of taking a little bit of a turn away from the supremely mainstream poppy thing. I think she's really pushing back against all of that now because of her experiences and where she is in her life and stuff. I think in the same way that maybe Hayley Williams has in Paramore, she's like really doing her own thing and just like, this is who I am right now. If you don't like it, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, rather than pleasing people, she's getting into a period where she's just really, this is what I'm doing, and it's great to listen to for music lovers, because as you say, she's really focused on just making good music.
Yeah, and I suppose possibly a lot of it could have been influenced by her peers that she surrounds herself with, at the moment, like The National and one of her Haim are her best friends, and that's probably bleeding into her music, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's a little bit, again, I don't want to say the wrong thing, it's a little bit more of like an arty crowd that she's knocking about with, maybe, isn't it? Where, and I think just pop music maybe in general, we did discuss this on the Miley Cyrus episode, where she's playing around with pop and what pop means and what it is, and the art form itself. So maybe this is like we're going through a bit of a pop renaissance at the moment, and this is what we're seeing, and we won't know that for sure until after it's happened.
I think that wraps up our review of the album. What's your score out of 5, and then give a bit of a conclusion, maybe? I'd
just go straight down the middle for a 3, like a really solid 3 out of 5. Ticks all of the boxes. It's not the bravest record I've ever heard. And I like a brave record. I like people taking chances and really pushing the boundary on what they do and pushing themselves. I think it's summed up by that she's in a comfortable space. She feels comfortable to make the music that she's making, and it's a little bit comfortable, and that's fine. That's great. The fact that she's made 2 albums in a year is absolutely phenomenal. Do I think that she could have had one absolutely incredible album out of the 2 albums? Yes, but that's just where we are in the world right now. People just are releasing things as they go along. I really, really enjoyed a lot of this record, but it was just too long for me. That's why it's a little bit of a kind of a middle of the road score. It's a little bit of a middle of the road album, and it's a bit too long.
Yeah.
How was yours? What's your decision?
I'm going quite high for this one. I'm going 4.5.
Wow.
And it's only not a 5 because of the length of the album. A sad album to convert me to really appreciate it and really like it. It's got to be pretty special, and I've really enjoyed listening to it. Standout tracks, Nobody Knew Crime, Tis the Damn Season, Champagne Problems. And for me, there isn't really a bad track on the album. As I say, it just goes on a bit too long.
Yeah, totally. As there isn't any bad tracks, there's just tracks that you would probably skip to get to the next one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, really nice composition. I like the lack of instrumentation, letting the songs breathe, and the lyrics and storytelling are great. It creates a really strong imagery, and you can really sort of deep dive and get lost in the album, I think. And I haven't listened to Folklore, as a little disclaimer there as well, so maybe if I'd listened to that as well, it may have been different, but on its own, a standalone album. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Good stuff. I'm really excited that you've given it such a high mark, to be honest with you. I really am. That's a huge change. As I say, as you say, for someone like that, you're really into the energy of music, aren't you? That's one thing that really pulls you through, and it says a lot about this album that it was able to kind of convert you.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to say thanks, obviously, for people who are continuing to listen to the episodes, and subscribing to the YouTube channel, watching the videos on there. Really appreciated. So if you can, let your friends know and point them towards it as well. If there's any Taylor Swift fans in your family, they might be interested in watching this.
I feel like this episode might have been a bit of a clickbaity kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of Taylor Swift fans might just be bored with two fellas in their nearly 30s by just talking about the nuts and bolts of a record.
But we tried to do this one a bit differently because there are so many songs on the album. Usually we've done track by track on a couple of episodes so far, and we thought it might have been a bit too boring doing it that way for this episode. Yeah,
we've kind of jumped around a little bit today, but maybe we keep doing it like this. Maybe that's just how we do it from now on, and it's evolving as it goes, isn't it? So we're gonna get it right one day.
Yeah, let us know what you think. So we're on Instagram at The Album Review Show. We're on Twitter at Album Review Show. Facebook is facebook.com/The Album Review Show. And you can email us any of your suggestions at info@thealbumreviewshow.com.
Yeah, so once again, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you next time. Hopefully not too long. Stay safe and bye.
Bye.